Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear brothers and sisters, to Question Time on Islam. Today I will be hosting your program as Brother Naveed is not in, and inshallah we will go through a lot of questions. We have with us our Moulana, our guest, our host, Moulana Syed Musawi, and he will be answering our questions. Welcome, Sayyidina. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. May Allah bless you and all our brothers and sisters in these great days in the month of the Hajj, when we are also approaching the greatest event in the history of Islam and the history of all the prophets. In fact, Allah sent all the prophets to convey his message, and the greatest prophet conveyed the greatest message. And the Prophet of Islam spent all his life with the prophethood and conveyed the message of Islam in Tawheed, in Nubuwwat, in Adl, in all the faith and all the Sharia. Then the Prophet, in his last 2 months of his life, or say 3 months of his life, he went to the pilgrimage, which is called Hajjat al-Wada', the farewell pilgrimage. When he came back from Hajj with big number of Muslims who performed Hajj with him on his way from Mecca to Medina, in between, when all Hajis were with him, Allah sent an order to the Prophet, which was a unique order. You don't read in Quran any order like the order of Ghadir. Allah tells his messenger, "O messenger, convey what has been revealed on you from your Lord. And if you don't convey, as if you did not convey the message of Allah." Imagine what type and what is the important message that if it is not being conveyed, nothing in the message of Allah has been really conveyed. The Prophet ordered all people with him to gather. Those who were ahead were being told to come back, and those who were in the back were told to join. When all of them were together, number was 120 to 125,000 companions, men and women. The Prophet went on the minbar and he asked all Muslims, "Am I not more entitled on every believer than himself?" He repeated the question 3 times. And all of them said, "Yes, you are." He took the hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib, raised it, and said, "Verily, for whomsoever I am the master, Ali is his master. من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه. This announcement of Ghadir is the announcement which has been narrated by maximum number of Sahaba who narrated any hadith. So the authenticity of the announcement of Ghadir can never be challenged. Everyone, including Ibn Taymiyyah, who is a well-known opponent of Ahlebait. Ibn Taymiyyah, the godfather of the Wahhabis, who always tries to deny or create doubt about Ahlebait, he did accept that the Prophet did say in front of everyone in Ghadir that for whomsoever I am the Mawla, master, leader, Ali is his Mawla. In that announcement, the Prophet ordered everyone to give allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib. All gave allegiance. Among those who gave allegiance was Umar ibn al-Khattab, who came and gave allegiance, and he said a statement which is being narrated by our Sunni brothers' books, told Ali, "Oh Ali, son of Abu Talib, you became my Mawla and Mawla of every mu'min and mu'minah." And Ibn Taymiyyah quoted this statement of Umar. If Muslims want to be just and faithful to their religion and obedient to their Prophet, they should never ignore what the Prophet wanted from them when he ordered every Muslim to give allegiance to Ali. Of course, some of them were unhappy with Ali because Ali was the leader who killed the chiefs of the mushrikeen. He killed the well-known leaders of the Arab tribes. So the non-believers did not like Ali. But after all, that was the order from Allah. Allah ordered the Prophet to convey to the Ummah the leadership of Ali ibn Abi Talib after the Prophet, and Allah told him that if you don't convey this which was being revealed on you from Allah, as if you did not convey any message from Allah. Ghadir is not a matter of history only. No. Ghadir is a matter of today and tomorrow and yesterday until the day of judgment. Ghadir is the only way to follow the orders of Allah and the Prophet by following the orders of the divine leader after the Prophet, who is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ghadir is the way to unite the Muslim Ummah under a divine leadership. The big problem which took place in the history of Muslims, that group of people wanted to get political benefits from the Muslim government, and they wanted to take charge, and they tried to deprive Ali alayhi salam from his right, and they denied or they ignored the allegiance which they have already given to Ali ibn Abi Talib on the day of Ghadir. Imagine, day of Ghadir was 18th of Dhul Hajjah, year 10. The Prophet of Islam passed away after 70 days, 70, after Ghadir. Means from 18 of the Hajj, year 10, to 28th of Safar, 28th of Safar, or say Bara Wafat, as our Sunni brothers say. So it is a matter of 70 days or more few days. But what happened after Ghadir, that immediately when the Prophet passed away, group of people went to Saqifa and wanted to kidnap the leadership of Islam and Muslims under different excuses. From that day, the dispute started between Muslims until today. If you go through the history of Muslims, you will find two lines. A line of those who obeyed the Prophet and remained faithful to the allegiance of Ghadir, the line of Ahlebait and their sincere followers. And on the other hand, on the opposite side, you find another group who came in Saqifa, ignoring the allegiance of Ghadir and claiming that the leadership is not for Ahlul Bayt, but for Tom, Dick, and Harry, anyone, till it reached to Yazid and to other tyrant rulers, because according to them, leadership is just a political matter. Anyone who has more money, more weapons, more tricks can take the leadership, which is against the Islamic teachings. And today is also a living example between the faithful believers who keep following the prophetic orders in Ghadir, on the other side, the Saqifa, and those who believe in the leadership of Saqifa. We must mention that what happened in Saqifa can never replace, can never be compared, can never counter the allegiance of Ghadir, because the allegiance of Ghadir was by order from Allah. Allah ordered the Prophet saying, Ya ayyuha rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. O messenger. And if you read Quran, you will find that most of the times Allah gives his message and says, Ya ayyuhan nabi, Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Prophet. But only in the most important issues, Allah says, Ya ayyuhar rasul. So here, it is a very important issue. Allah tells the Prophet, Ya ayyuhar rasul, O messenger. And the order is so serious that Allah is telling the Prophet, if you don't convey, O messenger, if you don't convey what is being revealed on you from your Lord, as if you did not convey any message from Allah. Ghadir is the most important announcement in the history of Islam. And Ghadir is the future of Islam. Without the announcement of Ghadir, Islam would have been changed like previous religions, like Christianity, like Judaism, but Allah kept the proper Islam by two reasons, or by two factors: Quran and Ahlul Bayt. The divine leadership of Islam and Muslims is by following the announcement of Ghadir, and the Prophet of Islam, peace and blessing be upon him and his holy progeny, has clearly told everyone, ألا فليبلغ الشاهد الغائب. Everyone who is present should convey to those who are not present, which means we know about Al-Ghadir, we need to convey to those who don't know about Al-Ghadir. Al-Ghadir is the greatest event in the history of Islam, because nothing is more important than following the right Islam. See, we have got Eid al-Fitr after completing the fasting of the month of Ramadan. We have got Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Qurban, after or on the day of the Qurban, means the sacrifice of Hajj. Very important to fast and to perform Hajj, but it is more important to save Islam and to know who are the real successors who lead Islam after the Prophet. That's why Eid al-Ghadir is the day in which Allah has distinguished between the right path and wrong path. We have got a narration. A man asked Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, why did the Prophet raise the hand of Ali in the day of Ghadir and said, for whomsoever I am the Mawla, Ali is his Mawla? Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq replied, the Prophet did that to differentiate between the followers of Allah and followers of Shaitan. Those who follow Allah will obey the orders of the Prophet, and those who disobey the orders of the Prophet are not following of Allah. So the day of Ghadir and the announcement of Ghadir is so crucial, and people from all sects, all schools of thoughts should keep on thinking about, why did the Prophet did that? Why did the Prophet do that? Because the Prophet wants Muslims to follow the right path of the Prophet, which is the right path after him, by following Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam. I hope that our families, our children, our young generation should understand the importance of the announcement of Ghadir, and know that this announcement means following the right Islam and avoiding the dispute between Muslims if they turn their faces away from the orders of Allah and the Prophet, which was announced on the day of Ghadir. It is very recommended on the day of Ghadir, which is just 2 days from now, to make everyone know about it and to celebrate it as the best Eid, Eidullah al-Akbar, the greatest Eid. It is mustahab to fast. Some people say, how to fast when it is Eid? We say that fasting is permissible except on 2 days, Fitr and Adha. But Friday is also Eid for Muslims. Still, it is recommended to fast on Friday. So we don't have in Islam that fasting in every Eid is not permissible, but we have that fasting on Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha only. But Eid al-Ghadir, it is recommended to fast and highly recommended to feed others. We have got many authentic hadiths that the day of Ghadir, it is a day of feeding the believers, feeding the believers. So let us celebrate the greatest event in the history of Islam, Eid al-Ghadir, and let us pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us always faithful and following and obeying the orders of Allah and the Prophet, in following Ahlebait alayhim salam, being with them in every moment of our life. We say with Ahlebait, with Amir al-Mu'mineen, and not with others at all. Bismillah, please.
Thank you, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, there's a few questions about Eid al-Ghadir and its importance, as you've mentioned. For example, there's a question that a lot of the youth ask me, which is, if there were so many people to see this event, who witnessed this event, why is it that they all forgot about it after the Prophet went from this earth? When he left this earth,
okay,
what happened?
Okay. In fact, people did not forget about what happened. People who were in the place of Ghadir, they did not forget about it. But because of a political situation which took place immediately when the Prophet passed away, before the Prophet was being buried, before the burial of the Prophet, few people had agreement with some tribes around Medina to support them, to hijack the leadership of Islam, while Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali alayhi salam, and Ahlul Bayt and pious companions were busy in the preparation of the burial of the Prophet. So those tribes who were known as munafiqs, they entered Medina and they forced people to follow Saqifa. So people knew that they have already given allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And that was in the mind of the pious companions. You find that after many years, Amir al-Mu'mineen reminded the companions. He said that, don't you remember when the Prophet in the day of Ghadir said, for whomsoever I am the Mawla, Ali is his Mawla? And many companions stood up and said, yes, yes, we have witnessed, we have seen the Prophet and heard him saying that. So people did not forget, but the political chaos and situation was such that many people had to just keep quiet. Of course, many pious Sahaba, they said, no, the leadership is not for anyone, but for Ali ibn Abi Talib, because we have already given allegiance to him by order of Allah and in the presence of the Prophet in the day of Ghadir. So the reply is that people did not forget about it, but the political situation was such that people had to keep quiet.
Thank you, Sayyidina. So it was the political situation, the atmosphere at that time which made the people quiet out of fear for their life. Would you say, Sayyidina? Were they scared?
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. Because in fact, we have got witness that those who objected on Saqifa, some of them were being killed. We have got in the history one of the well-known companions, Sa'd bin Ubadah. He objected on Saqifa. The result, that they killed him. And they claimed that the jinns killed him. And still they write in the books that Sa'd bin Ubadah was the first person who was killed by jinns. It is just a claim, false claim. They killed him because he was not accepting Saqifa. And see what happened to Zubayr. Zubayr also is another well-known companion who was objecting Saqifa. And he came to the house of Ali and Fatima. They attacked the house and they broke his sword. And look at what happened to Fatima herself, the daughter of the Prophet. Her house was being attacked and they brought fire to burn the house because Fatima objected Saqifa. And you know that Fatima is the best lady among all human beings. That is in the book of Bukhari. Means according to the hadith narrated by Bukhari, that Fatima is the best lady in the whole paradise. No lady is better than Fatima. And Fatima refused Saqifa. And Fatima remained refusing Saqifa for the whole of her life. She passed away. Whenever she passed away, whether after 45 days or 75 days or 3 months or whatever, we have got many narrations, but she never gave allegiance to Saqifa. Yes, please.
Thank you, Said. That's a very open answer which you've given, which is a clear answer that gives us a understanding of what's really happening that day and why this day is so important. Say that the final question on this topic, then we move on to our normal questions that we have, is should Muslims celebrate this day? Should people invite one another for celebrating the Eid al-Ghadir, give one another food and make ceremonies about this? Is this prescribed? Is there a lot of sawab for this, Sayyidina?
Of course, of course, of course. Ayatullah al-Akbar, the greatest Eid according to Allah. So the believers should celebrate this Eid because the meaning of it is more important than other celebrations. I say that we celebrate Eid al-Fitr after fasting, Eid al-Adha after Hajj, but the divine leadership of Islam till day of Qiyamah is the most important issue. Without this issue, Islam will never continue. So it is highly recommended to celebrate Eid al-Ghadir in every possible way, inviting people, feeding people, gifting. I remind here our respected brothers and sisters that those who are helping the poor people, sponsoring orphans, sponsoring poor students, I suggest on them to make the poor people, especially the children, happy in Eid al-Ghadir by giving them a gift of Eid al-Ghadir, as we call it in Arabic, Eidi or Eidiya. You know the Eidi? A gift for Eid al-Ghadir, to make people feel happy in this happiest day, most important day in the history of Islam. Every house should celebrate Eid al-Ghadir in their own possible way. Every person should make other people happy in the Eid al-Ghadir. Invite whom you can invite, send gifts, send something to feed people in poor countries. If you live in a place where you don't find chance to invite people to your home, you can arrange something in your own country, in Pakistan, in India, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, wherever you can, Africa, wherever you can, arrange something, invite people to celebrate this great event of Eid al-Ghadir.
Thank you, Sayyidna. So Sayyidna, we'll just start some questions and then the time will finish anyway. So there's a few questions I have that the brothers and sisters have sent to us. The first question is, Assalamu alaikum. If I am praying wajib namaz at home, do I have to recite azan and iqama, or can I just recite the iqama? Or I'll add another question to this, even without the iqama, can they just read the wajib namaz? Sayyidna? Sayyidna, are you there?
Hello.
Sayyidna, did you get the question I said?
The line was cut off. Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, Sayyidna. So the question is, if I am praying wajib namaz at home, do I have to recite azan and iqama, or can I just recite iqama, or even without iqama, recite salat?
Reciting azan and iqama is highly recommended, even if you are praying at home alone. We have got hadith that a person recites azan and iqama, he will pray, and behind him 2 rows of angels will pray. If he recites only iqama, 1 row of angels will pray with him. If he recites his namaz with azan and iqama, he will pray alone. So it is highly recommended to pray, to recite azan and iqama. in the daily wajib prayers. As you know, Azan and Iqama is only for the daily wajib prayers, not every wajib prayer. For example, namaz ayat is wajib, but there is no azan and no iqama in namaz ayat. Namaz Eid is also originally was wajib, and now we pray because of the occultation of our imam. But namaz Eid is not a daily wajib prayer, so there is no azan and iqama for namaz Eid. Namaz Jum'ah is daily prayer because it is like Dhuhr of Friday. So Dhuhr of Friday is replaced by namaz Jum'ah. Namaz mustahab, sunnat namaz, like namaz shab or any nafila, no azan, no iqama. Namaz tawaf, when you go for tawaf, 2 rak'at after tawaf, no azan, no iqama. So the 5 daily prayers, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, azan and iqama is highly recommended for men and women as well. But the women should not raise her voice, which can be then reached to the non-mahram men. But in every namaz of daily prayer, azan and iqama is highly recommended. Yes, please.
Thank you, Sayyidina. I have another question, Sayyidina. Assalamu alaikum. Regarding the famous saying of Imam Ali, I am the dot which is under the bar. Is this a Shia narration, and is it Sahih? And how does a dot contain anything? Please explain.
Understanding the real meaning of this statement is not simple for every lay person. This is a statement narrated from Amir al-Mu'mineen that the knowledge of Quran is in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim starts with Ba, Be. And that Ba, Be is not understood without the dot. النقطة تحت الباء. That dot, نقطة, beneath the Be. What is the real meaning of that? That has got lot of details. Till now, the scholars that have written on it, themselves, they have written that we did not fully understood, we did not fully understand the whole meanings of it. Briefly, we know that the knowledge of Ali ibn Abi Talib is unlimited because he took his knowledge from the Prophet, and the Prophet got his knowledge from Allah, as Allah in Quran said to the Prophet, وَعَلَّمَكَ مَا لَمْ تَكُنْ تَعْلَمْ. Allah gave you the knowledge of everything that you did not know. That unlimited knowledge granted by Allah to the Prophet of Islam was transferred to Amir al-Mu'mineen by the Prophet. peace and blessing be upon him and his holy progeny. So the knowledge of Amir al-Mu'mineen is unlimited, and it is above the abilities of human minds. We read in the hadith from the Prophet telling the Amir al-Mu'mineen, "O Ali, no one knew Allah but only myself and you, and no one knew me but only Allah and you." So that statement shows us that the knowledge and the status of Amir al-Mu'mineen is not known to anyone from us. Allah only knows, and the Prophet knows. This what we can say about this narration of النقطة تحت الباء in this brief time. Yes, please.
Thank you, Sayyidina. So another question is it okay to say Sadaqallah al-Azim after finishing of a surah from the Quran, or is it better to say Sadaqallah al-Ali al-Azim? My understanding there are both Allah's name. Please shed some light.
In Quran, those who read Quran, I want to ask them, did you find in Quran any verse Allah mentioned Al-Azim faqat? Only Al-Azim? No. In Quran, always Allah mentioned Al-Ali Al-Azim. Read Ayat al-Kursi. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. When we read Quran and say صدق الله العلي العظيم, we are repeating what Allah has said in Quran. But some people, out of enmity of Ahlebait, they don't want to mention Al-Ali. They think that is the name of Ali. Allah is Al-Ali Al-Azim. Al-Ali Al-Azim from the Asma al-Husna. So we say Sadaqallah Al-Ali Al-Azim, as Allah in Quran mentioned always Al-Ali Al-Azim. We don't say Sadaqallah Al-Azim, but I say if you want to follow Quran, in Quran Allah said وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. It is up to you. Yes, please.
Thank you, Sayyidina. So another question is, Salam, if your parents ask you to break relationships with a believer because she doesn't like her, or I think the parents doesn't like her, can you listen to their order? So what I understand from this question, Sayyidina, is if the parents say to break a relationship with a certain believer, should they follow the order of their parents?
In Islam, respecting the parents and obeying them is always necessary, except when they order you in something which is against the orders of Allah. The parents are not above Allah. No one is above Allah. In hadith, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience for any human being or creature in the disobedience of the Creator, Allah. So if your parents order you to cut relation with your uncle, your aunt, your relative, that is haram. That is haram. So you should not disobey Allah at all. but don't insult your parents. You can deal with their wish with wisdom, tactfully, politely. Don't disobey Allah at all. And don't insult your parents also at all. Try to be practical, tactful, how to keep the respect of your parents and how to obey Allah and keeping your relationship with your relatives and with the believers, so we remain on the safe side always, inshallah.
Sure. Sayyidina, I'll ask you last question and then we will end the program because time is running out. Assalamu alaikum. If I by mistake prayed Zohr Salah with Qadha niyat instead of praying Zohr as a wajib niyat.
By mistake?
Yes, so if by mistake prayed Zohr Salah with Qadha niyat, so he thought it's a Qadha niyat instead of praying Zohr as a wajib niyat. And after that I prayed and realized that I made the mistake. Do I need to pray again? Please advise.
What is the meaning of niyat according to you? Niyat is what is in your heart, not what is in your tongue. Some people say something on their tongue, but they know that they are praying Zuhur namaz. Niyat is what is in your heart, not what is on your tongue. If you know in your heart that you are praying Zuhur namaz as wajib, that is enough. Even if you said in your tongue that qaza. And usually everyone who comes for namaz performs wuzu and stands in front of the qibla, he knows he is going to pray zuhr or maghrib or morning, so that is the enough niyat. I say that if you know in your heart that you are praying zuhr, the wajib namaz, and you said in your tongue qaza, that does not count. The thing which counts is what is in your heart. That is the niyat, the intention in your heart. So your salah with that intention in your heart is valid, even if you wrongly said something different. Your salah is valid as far as you know that you prayed zuhr namaz as wajib.
Thank you, Sayyidina. I think we have run out of time as well, Sayyidina. If there's any last words you would like to say
I
before
would
we
like to
wrap the
request
program.
every mu'min to celebrate the great bounty of Eid al-Ghadir in your house. Make everyone in your family feel the greatness of Eid al-Ghadir and thank Allah who granted us this great bounty of knowing, loving, following Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam. This bounty is greater than the whole world. Nothing is more great than loving and following Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. I hope that every mu'min will do his best to celebrate and to inform others about this great event of Eid al-Ghadir, great allegiance of the mu'mineen to the leadership of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam, after the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him and his holy progeny, repeating salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and gifting the reward of it to Amir al-Mu'mineen is also something very great, and feeding people as much as we can and making the mu'mineen happy, making your parents more happy making the family members more happy in this great occasion of Eid al-Ghadir. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum warhamna bihim.
Thank you so much, Sayyidina. Dear brothers and sisters, do remember Sayyidina and myself on the day of Eid so that we can also have more sawab and we will remember you. Please make